Pod Sound School presents Content Jefe, the podcast that helps online business owners make better content and more money. Let's Jefe up. Hello, amigo, amigazo, Content Jefe. I'm so excited you're here with us today. Welcome to the Content Jefe podcast, brought to you by the Pod Sound School. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Studio Steve.
We teach people how to make content and how to implement content marketing systems to help them grow online. We're content creators too, and we've been doing this for 5 years. This podcast is for you. If you're an online business owner or content creator trying to figure out content marketing and how to make money online, in each episode, we bring you inside the content marketing world to help you make better content and more money. In this episode, we're going to be talking about charisma and how being more charismatic can help you increase your likability and build trust, increasing your income and increasing your influence.
Yes, and why charisma is important on camera, in Zoom meetings, with your employees, at the workplace, just kind of like really
pretty much in every interaction you have with other humans.
But especially the humans who may not know you very well. I'm not sure charisma is like crazy important in the closest relationships we have. It might be when you're first dating.
Yeah.
You know? But once
then you show your true colors.
Then you show your true colors. But this can be some really valuable stuff. Where are you going to take us?
So this episode was inspired because I was listening to another podcast and this expert in charisma was interviewed. Her name is Vanessa Van Edwards, and she's one of the researchers of science there at Science of People and the best-selling author of 3 books that talk about human behavior and charisma. And the things that she was saying were fascinating.
Yeah.
And I had to go and do more research on her. I ended up buying her book. And I thought that that's such an important thing. It's called the it factor. And it may be what you're missing to just get you where you want to be.
Yeah, maybe generate more leads, make more sales, gain more influence.
Connecting more with your audience.
Also having your social media channels or your YouTube channel or your podcast, all of that, you could grow maybe by some of these little things that you might not realize are actually signaling that you are not approachable, that you're not charismatic.
Charismatic. So I'm the captain of this ship. And I'm going to be leading this episode. And
this is one of Veronica's episodes. I'm pretty excited too. I learned about this charisma stuff
my
too.
maniacal laugh.
And I'm not supposed to, I need to like let you talk more and I need to, but I also have to go, and like raise my eyebrows and stuff. So I might be making like some very strange, giving you some mixed signals in this. Before we get started, I would love it if you would leave a comment wherever you're listening or watching to this podcast about which one of us you think is more charismatic.
Yeah.
Whether this is the first time you're popping into one of our episodes, that's even better. Or if you've been consuming our content for a while, which one of us do you think is more charismatic? Because later in the episode, we actually take Vanessa's quiz, and we'll leave the link for her quiz so you could take it too.
So this episode...
Well, I didn't finish my thought there.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay, because, you're trying to lead the episode and I'm taking over, but stick around throughout the episode because we take a quiz. I mean, that's like, let's give them a reason what the episode's about and why they should stick around. And I'm sorry, I'm taking the lead.
So I organized this episode in 4 main parts. The first one is we're going to talk about the importance of charisma. The second part, we're going to talk about what makes a person charismatic. And the third one is how do we develop charisma? Charisma is something that is learnable. It's not something that some people are born with or it's in the DNA. No, we can all learn or do little things to be more charismatic. And like Steven mentioned at the end of this episode, where we took a quiz. She has a quiz. We're going to be sharing all those links in the show notes or in the description of this episode. So you can go and take that charisma quiz to see if you're charismatic. It was a very interesting experience.
Really interesting experience. And then especially if you have, your husband or your wife or a best friend, you can take it for the other one as well. So, and then see how those two
and see how
compare.
those, yeah.
And that's what we're going to do to see how charismatic do I think I am versus how charismatic does Veronica think I am, based off of the questions in this quiz. We'll share some of the questions with you too. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah. So the first point, the importance of charisma and what we do if we are online business owners, if we are creating content and posting content online, and it's crucial to have charisma because we're always on video. We have webinars, we have live events, we have things that we interact with our prospects. We may be in the same room with them and see some cues or how they react to certain things that we say, or it may be just you recording your webinar alone. So charisma is how people perceive us. We may think that we're charismatic. I think that I'm charismatic, but you may ask my neighbor from across the street and he may think otherwise.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about neighbors, that's something. That's the thing. Like, is it neighbors that are judging our charisma, or the people at the grocery store, or is it work colleagues and?
So as people, how people perceive us. So are we likable? Are we trustworthy? Are we competent?
And likable and competent. Now, if you look at that, those are two of the big concerns in sales, right? Because every human, before they're about to buy something, they ask those two questions, like, do I trust this person? And are they competent enough to deliver on what they're promising me?
Yeah.
Right.
So you can be like really good at what you do. You can be brilliant and you can be certain that you can deliver the results. But if you don't connect with your prospect, if you don't connect with your audience, then you may be missing out on some opportunities because people feel like they're not being heard, that they can't trust you.
They can't trust you. They don't want to work with you. They don't really like you.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had that experience where there's something about like I really want to like this person, but there's something that just doesn't click.
Yeah, and it could be their lack of using some of these cues, or the fact that they're not very charismatic.
Not very charismatic. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
So I already said that. Like even if you're good at what you do, you may be sending people mixed signals. Maybe that you're not warm enough, or that you are not competent enough, maybe because you're shy. So all of these things we need to be paying attention to and improve. And the second point is that what makes a person charismatic. And do you have your phone there?
I do.
Okay. So I am going to ask you, I'm going to say some names and you can tell me if these people are charismatic or not.
You put out a tweet about this as well.
Yeah, but don't look at the tweet just yet. I just want to see what you think.
Okay.
So between like 1 to 10, how charismatic they are.
Okay.
Elon Musk.
3.
Minus
14.
Is he even human?
I think he's kind of charismatic in some ways.
Really?
Yeah. He's approachable. And I think that his awkwardness in a weird way kind of makes him a little more charismatic, a little more relatable to me, but still very low on the charisma.
Yeah,
it seems 3 or 4.
He looks very competent. Of course, yes, he's a genius,
competent, obviously,
but not very warm with people.
Not very warm. I don't know if I trust him. I just don't.
Yeah, no. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
10 out of 10. Probably.
I know, right? Very charismatic.
It's got to be a smile. Maybe the smile mixed with the muscles. But I think he's probably like a poster child for charisma.
Yeah. And also like the way that he acknowledges other people and he's just so present.
The way that he listens.
The way that he listens.
Shares the spotlight.
Yeah.
I think sharing the spotlight is a big one. Instead of trying to steal the spotlight. Like he's enough of his confidence is enough just to have the spotlight. He doesn't, now that he has it, he can share it with other people, right? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
he does.
Very high.
Very high, yeah. Barack Obama.
Also very high as well. Yeah, really relatable. He looks like you could trust him, listen to him.
Very sharp, but also very kind.
Sharp, yes. So a nice blend of that competency. So you can trust him, and he's very charismatic.
All of his speeches, he's very confident. He's showing his hands.
But he also shows emotion.
He shows emotion, a lot of smile. He has a full smile.
A lot of facial expressions. Yeah.
Oprah?
Very charismatic. Another one of the star players of charisma, probably. In fact, her charisma might even be like, it is probably responsible for her success. And because a lot of her success, and you know, I'm not as much of an Oprah fan as you are, or as a lot of people are, but I love Oprah. And from what I see, I think that she's like really good at interviewing people.
Yeah, I feel like you feel safe in her presence.
You do, and you trust her recommendations. You trust her. Why do you trust her any more than anybody else, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be because of something. Yeah, it's got to be because of something, and I think it's her charisma.
Oh, let's look at Twitter.
Okay.
Because I run a poll on Twitter to see what the people on Twitter thought about these people being charismatic or not.
So Elon Musk got 0%. But people on Twitter are kind of not very happy with Elon, a lot of them. Dwayne Johnson, 44% of the votes. Barack Obama, 56%. So he's the winner.
So he's the winner.
And Donald Trump was 0%.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are the two most important traits that charismatic people have? Like we were talking about doing the Rock Johnson and Barack Obama. Like what are those traits? And by the way, you don't have to be an attractive person or an extrovert to be charismatic. In fact, Vanessa was saying that some of the people who are super extroverts and are the loud talkers and want all the attention, sometimes they lack charisma, and people walk away feeling like they don't really like that person or that they don't trust that person.
Yeah.
So if you're shy, if you're awkward, it's not that you don't have hope. Like, look at us. You can still be charismatic. And I have plenty of examples of people in my life, my law school professors, those who were very shy, very awkward, but very charismatic.
Yes.
And the two identifiable traits of a highly charismatic person is high warmth and high competency.
Yes. What Vanessa's theory is behind all of her work, right? So it's really a gauging somebody's competency with somebody's warmth.
Warmth, yeah.
Warmth is cool. So like a warm hug, right?
Yeah. So high warmth signals that people can trust you and like you too.
Yeah.
So there's this like we were saying about Oprah, you feel safe in their presence. You have that you feel like that person have your best interest at heart.
I feel like one way, now that you've mentioned this, that you could gauge somebody's charisma is how much you want to hug them.
Yes.
Because like I would love to hug Dwayne The Rock. And I would also love to give Oprah a hug.
Yeah.
Like more than anyone. Like
yeah. And Hugh Jackman.
Oh, Hugh Jackman. God. If I could.
So we're gonna go see Hugh Jackman one day.
I've been trying. He's been on Broadway. I think he's still on Broadway.
And
currently.
I'm gonna wear a shirt that says "Hugh, do me."
Do me, Hugh.
Do me, Hugh.
And I'm gonna wear a shirt that says "Do me too." And we think that's funny. Our kids don't. What do you think? If you think it's a good idea, we're actually, you know, I've been waiting for some things we can coin and put on T-shirts and sell on our channel.
So do me, Hugh.
I think do me, Hugh, and do me too as a couple pairing shirt. If you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments. I'll give you a 10% affiliation if you leave a comment.
You can also say like stop.
Okay? Yeah, stop.
You too,
don't.
stop.
That's not funny.
It's not funny.
That's like a dad joke and a mom joke, and get off your mom talk and whatever you want.
Yeah, please go back to the episode.
Yes.
The other trait of being charismatic is high competency, and that is associated with capability, power, and effectiveness.
Interesting.
People use warmth and competence to decide whether or not they will sign up for your program, whether or not they'll like you and they want to get into a project with you.
Whether or not they'll subscribe to your channel.
Whether or not, they'll subscribe to your channel. Or keep coming back for your content. Or keep watching your videos. Yeah. Or after like clicking on your video and you don't have that charisma, you don't connect with them, they'll move on to a different video, to a different channel, to a different person.
Yeah.
To teach them the same. So that's why it's important. Charisma is super important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I my own feelings that I have on this too is just that it's important to be aware of where you are. And something that's been so valuable about this so far for me has just been that, like that self reflection,
Being
and
aware,
being
yeah.
aware, and us having those conversations, and being like, oh shit, wow, I might not. I thought I was charismatic, and as it turns out, I might not be.
So Vanessa mentions that it's important to have a balance between being highly warm and also highly competent. Because when you are highly warm, then people may perceive that you are not competent, that you may not deliver the results, that
If you're all warm,
that you are, that you like tend to be more warm.
you're mushy and too emotional.
Yeah, too emotional, not assertive. You don't give them the confidence that you can deliver on the results.
They still want to give you a really big hug, but they're going to come to you when they need a hug, but they're not going to come to you.
But they're going to go to somebody else for the incompetency, and because you come across insecure and that you can't deliver on the results.
Interesting. So competency is mixed in there with confidence a little bit.
Yeah. And also if you are leaning towards the being more high competent and not enough warmth, then people may perceive that they can trust you. You're very smart, but you don't have their best interest at heart.
Yeah. And I think the example I heard Vanessa give in that podcast interview you're talking about is Steve Jobs. Right. And so also, this isn't to say that if you're completely competent and you lack all warmth, that you can't be, one of the most successful people in history, at least in terms of the impact an invention would have, right? Steve Jobs. Technology. So, but people famously think of him as somebody who's very cold, very hard to work with, so
not very warm.
And if his business was built off of, say, trying to build a personal brand or become an influencer or, attract clients or provide services for clients, then that would have really been a handicap for him in that situation.
Another trait that is important to have if you want to increase your charisma is to embrace your imperfections. This is something that people struggle a lot with. What we see on social media is highly curated. And
so when you say embrace your imperfections, do you mean also share them?
Embrace your imperfections and share them.
And talk about them a little bit.
She was talking about an experiment that they did with two models, and they had a protein drink or something, and then they had an audience.
Yes.
And one of the models just spilled the protein drink, and then they asked the people like who you like the most, and they liked the model who spilled the protein drink by accident. So as showing your imperfections, it shows that you're human, that you don't have it all like put together, that you make mistakes.
Yeah.
That and that way you show warmth is because like, listen, I'm human and I'm trying to figure things out. But I think you have to be careful because sometimes that can affect your competency.
Yeah, if it's affecting your competency yourself. But, this makes me think of a lot of other material I've seen on the topic. There's a YouTube channel. I cannot remember the name, but they use celebrities to look at human behavior and charisma as part of it. And they show interviews of celebrities and stuff. And the celebrities who come off very charismatic are the ones who like don't necessarily take credit. It's not like so if the person interviewing them will compliment them or say something about them, and they just kind of like give credit to somebody else. Or if somebody insults them, they don't take it personally and get defensive. That's like a big thing too. And so it's about, and I think that goes into like owning your awkwardness and just kind of like, and it also makes me think of something that comedians openly talk about on stage. And it's like, if you want an audience to warm up to you, then make fun of yourself. Right. So it's kind of a way of like not taking yourself too seriously and like just being okay with what makes you awkward and unique instead of trying to hide it. And I also really think that that's something that in today's marketplace and in social media and with TikTok especially, but also with YouTube and everywhere now, I think that people are really craving that transparency. They want to feel like they know you. And part of trusting someone, because we're always asking that, is like, are they being real with me? Or like, what persona is this? Are they acting like, what are they trying to get out of me? Like, what do they want from me? Like, what are they trying to...
Yeah, what's their agenda?
What's their agenda?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And that takes me to the last trait of a charismatic person, and that always they have interesting questions to ask to people. They go into a social situation. Maybe you meet with one of your prospects or with your students, and you always go in with this mindset that how can I ask questions that will have that person tell me exactly what they need, what their story is. And I struggle with this because I'm just going to go in and show this person that I can, deliver them the results and how smart I am and that I have everything figured out for them. And I have to work on that myself instead of showing off, because that's all there is. Like maybe I feel insecure. Maybe it's, my ego comes in place, and I have to change that and just to think about questions that I can ask so that person opens up to me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that also works really well with everything you hear when you read about sales. A great book by Jeb Blount, Sales EQ. He talks about that a lot, is about how asking questions, right? Another person who talks about that is Robert Greene. We've talked about him before on our podcast. And he's just all about, if you want to have power, you should ask questions. Like shut up and find ways to make other people talk.
Yeah.
That actually makes them leave the conversation feeling like, wow, that was such an incredible.
Yeah, I was heard. I was seen.
I was seen.
She gets me.
He gets me.
Hey, I'm interrupting the episode for a little announcement. You know you have to create content to attract more prospects online, but the whole thing seems daunting and too much to figure it out on your own. Which social media platform should I choose? Should I start making videos for IG Reels, TikTok, or YouTube? What skills do I need to learn? What equipment do I need? Or maybe you're considering starting a podcast for your business. And if any of that's the case, we want to invite you to sign up for the waitlist for Smart and Simple Podcasting. It's our first coaching program where we, the Pod Sound School, will be teaching you how to create and launch a professional podcast from scratch. Content marketing, so your content is a lead generation machine for your business, and different ways to maximize every time you record so you can create micro pieces of content that will go on different social media platforms. We'll be holding your hand through the whole process, meeting weekly with you, making sure that you're not getting left behind. We'll be teaching students and clients about podcast and video production and marketing for 4 years. Our approach to teaching is straightforward, innovative, and fun. So hurry up and go to podcastingsmart.com/waitlist to sign up, or find the link in the description of this episode. Stop working so hard on your content. Make your content work for you. Now back to the episode. So how do you develop charisma? How do you become a charismatic person? Whether it's on video, if you're making videos like we are, if you're posting your videos everywhere, if you are meeting people face to face, those first 10 seconds are very important. And this is what Vanessa recommends. Always show your hands. That's very important. And there's a scientific explanation to it, but I'm going to share the links.
Yeah.
Let the expert explain, but it comes with trust. Like she says, like if you put your hands on your back, if you hide them, then immediately you start getting nervous. You don't trust that person. Like what is that person doing with her hands?
Right now, right?
Yeah. So show your hands as much as you can. And if you're making videos, keep a foot distance from your camera, unless you want to have that sense, give that sense of intimacy. Then you're going to get closer to the camera to create more a sense of intimacy, like we're friends and I'm just giving you good advice, and that's why.
Yeah, and I think that's specifically when you're on like a Zoom call, or think about the angle of your camera as well, and show your hands. And then also you were probably going to get to the inflection part, right?
Oh yeah, the inflection is important. It's funny because like when English is a second language, your second language is the inflection. You pick up all these bad habits from older people. So
you picked up the bad inflections of insecure people, or people who were weren't charismatic.
So I had a friend in law school.
Yeah.
And she used to talk like this.
Oh yeah,
And
with
after
the high
after
inflections.
taking a few classes with her, I started talking like this. And one of my professors told me, like, are you sure about what you're saying? Like, why do you the inflection at the end?
Like you're asking a question at the end.
So it's called up talk.
Up talk, yeah.
And you probably heard people talking like this. It's just the at the end.
Yeah.
Another one is fake smiles.
Fake smiles are worse than no smiles, right? Why are you pointing at me? If you're listening to this on audio, Veronica's pointing at me, insinuating that I am the master of fake smiles. Listen, I do utilize fake smiles a lot, but I actually use fake smiles in a very specific and intentional way because people are the thing is too, is like people are really cunning at this stuff. Like we naturally read people, all of us do. And so there's so much communication that goes on between us and people, especially when it's not a parasocial relationship and you can actually see the other person and you can cue people into whether or not you want to talk with them. So I give people a smile that says, I'm friendly. I'm friendly. I acknowledge you. I see you. I respect you, but I don't want to talk to you right now because, I just want to drop my daughter off here and I want to get back to what I'm doing. I don't
Yes, as much as you can. And she says that she wants us to like either like just have a very subtle smile or a full smile, but not like a halfway, like,
It makes me think of before we lived here in North Carolina, we lived in Utah, which I would claim, and I think people who live in Utah would agree with me that is the capital of fake smiles. It's like the fake Smilesville. I miss it. I miss the customer service you get in that part of the country because it's like, oh, hi. Can I help you?
That's your Mormon smile.
Yeah, that's my Mormon smile right there. So
Right?
Fake smiles are you got to be very cautious. I think what she's really getting at here and what I like a lot about it is genuity. Is that the word? But basically you got to actually be interested. So
yeah, genuine.
Genuine. So when you're trying to extract questions from people and get people to talk, like we mentioned earlier, you want to actually really be interested in what they have to say. You have to not only go in and prep yourself beforehand, if you're somebody who's very self-absorbed, like kind of like we all are.
Yeah.
Before you go into that situation beforehand, that meeting or whatever it is, you might have to remind yourself, remember their names. Remember to use their names when I talk to them, and remember to ask them questions and be interested and kind of change your perspective to get out of yourself and be less egotistical or less focused on getting validation out of or getting something that you want or even being heard at all during whatever meeting or whatever event you're about to go to. And instead think in terms of I am really interested in these people because if you really break it down, you really are interested in learning, and especially from a marketing standpoint, the things that we can learn, the information that we can extract from virtually everyone, but especially those who fit into the category of our ideal customer, the more we can get to know them, the better.
More we listen.
And yet we waste all this time when we're not being charismatic or we're not being empathetic, and we go into
or open to receive,
or open to receive or anything because we want to get our own point across, or we want to just be heard, or we want to be seen as the expert, or we're overly competent. Is where I think I may struggle myself with that.
Yeah,
and it's
and if you're anxious, just take some CBD.
Yeah, CBD.
Because
breaths.
as you're talking, I'm feeling with anxiety because I struggle with that.
Yeah.
So when I go into a meeting, when I go into a social situation, and it happened to me in law school, and it's still happening to me, I just have so much, and I'm analyzing every second, and I'm analyzing every physical or every face expression that the other person makes. Oh, I'm getting this person bored. Oh, I'm sharing too much. Oh, that was inappropriate. Yeah. Oh, I'm not talking enough. Oh, hey, Veronica, why are you still talking? Okay, when is she going to stop talking? How long do it's horrible.
Yeah.
Am I a weird person?
I don't think so. And I think it's for these reasons that, a lot of people.
I think a little bit of CBD will help.
I think stuff helps.
Because you just need to relax into that interaction.
I think that's what it's really about, is relaxing, but also being curious, leaning into your curiosity. what can I learn from this situation?
From this person.
I think that's really is the ticket, is like getting yourself into that place.
So that's if you are meeting the person face to face or you're making videos. When you are sending emails, whether you're sending emails to your team members, whether you're sending emails to your prospects or to people that you really want to work with, she recommends to use warm words like, "Oh, I'm so happy to collaborate with you,"
or even the word "warm." She says she
or even
recommended that as well too.
or even that words. Just start your email with something that is going to make that person feel good in that moment.
Yes, in another interview I saw with
Exciting
her,
to meet you.
Yeah, and with another interview that I saw with her, Tom, I can't remember Tom Billy. I don't know how to
Biliu.
Biliu. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Tom Biliu.
Yeah, master interviewer, really cool YouTube channel. I love watching anyone being interviewed by him because he's very great at interviews. He was asking, well, is there an order of operations? Like, he's like, is there one that's more important to do first? And she says, yes. You always lead with the warmth. So you lead with the warmth, and then you follow up with a competency, and then maybe finish with purpose. So, if there's a purpose behind what you want out of that email, don't lead with that. If you want to show your competence or share your expertise in an email, don't lead with that. Instead, lead with warm things.
And I've heard that, and I went back to the emails that I have sent, and I have failed miserably.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm doing better.
Yeah, take an audit. Go look, especially with your team members and people that you're working with. Go look at the last emails that you sent them
and see.
And that's actually something Vanessa says as well. Is it will show you how other people perceive you if you just read after taking her quiz and reading and falling into a little bit of her content, and then take what you learn from her and go. It's pretty eye opening.
Yeah. So the key is to ask. We should ask ourselves every time we get into a communication, whether it's our email or just an interaction, is like, how do we want people, or how do we want somebody to think and feel after this interaction, after reading this email, after watching this video? How do we want them to feel?
I think you need to be a little cautious there with that, to not say, how do I want these people to think and feel about me? Because then that's just that about me is what turns it back around on you again, makes you insincere, makes you put on the fake smiles. And now you're putting on this act to try to get them to feel a certain way about you.
Yeah, no.
That's the traps that I have fallen into a lot myself, as a natural entertainer and somebody who I feel like I can flip on that switch of extroversion and outgoing and be the life of the party, when in actuality, it was just me, instead of actually being legitimately curious about other people.
Yeah. So it's not how we want them to feel about us, is how we want them to feel about themselves.
How we want them to feel at the end of the interaction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so are you ready for the results?
Yes.
My mango?
Now the thing is, the results are basically just a graph. So you basically, like, the graph is just how high you are on the charisma level. And on one side you have warmth on the x-axis, x-axis, and then on the y-axis you have competency. So based off of how warm and competent you are.
So I took the quiz because what we did is that I took the quiz as me, as I think people perceive me. And then Stephen would take the quiz as he perceives me.
As I perceive
or
you.
as he's seen people perceive me.
Yeah, as I see people perceive you. Which is cool because I think sometimes, my favorite expression, rarely does the eye see itself. I don't know who said that, but I love that expression. So
And then we did the same with Stephen. So do you want to read the questions? Or
I'll just read a couple of the questions. So, and you can go get this. We'll leave the link. It's actually scienceofpeople.survey.fm, but we'll leave the link where you're listening or watching this as well. And you can take this. It's pretty cool. And an example, the first question is, how friendly do you consider yourself to be? And then how friendly would others consider you to be, right? How warm are you? The ones that are interesting here is like, how well-intentioned are you? So that gets into trust too. And then how well-intentioned would other people think you are? But anyway, I'm not going to read every single question. It's a really quick thing as well. and we could talk a little bit more about these questions, but so what were the results? I took it
So the
too.
results for me is that I am a charisma zone,
Yes.
which is above the competency. Like I have a little bit of competency, more leaning more towards charisma. And it says that highly charismatic people immediately signal trust and credibility by using a balance of warm and competent communication cues. We see them as friendly and smart, impressive, and collaborative. And the strengths is that highly charismatic people are both effective and approachable. They are great team leaders and communicators. And the struggles is that highly charismatic people are often sought after and in demand. I don't know why that's a struggle. Oh, they may struggle to balance all the opportunities they have. That's not a struggle. But I would say that it's hard for me to measure my own competency. It's always been an issue for me.
That's interesting. I think that might be why you scored a little higher. What's interesting about Veronica's graph is the place that they put a star on the graph for her was exactly where mine was for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it for Veronica and I took it for myself. And so I feel like Veronica has a pretty good understanding of how charismatic she is. And what's interesting in Veronica's case, and I think maybe a lot of people can relate to this, are these questions, which is how skillful do you consider yourself to be? And then also how talented do you consider yourself to be? And Veronica is someone who is sort of unaware of her skills and talents. And I think that people I think people see her skills and see her talents and think of her talents as that she's very high skilled and talented. But so,
and I think that's also like a women thing. I think we tend to be lean towards the warm.
The
more charisma. Like if you were to ask these questions to a man, that they feel more competent,
and maybe
right?
it's thought
they
of
feel more that they have more skills,
to be more competent. So what goes into this is interesting because charisma is kind of this term, right? And it kind of does have to do with how people see us. There's that video game, The Sims, where in order to increase the charisma of your avatar character,
oh my God, I have forgotten.
You have to make them stand in front of the mirror. So they stand in front of the mirror and they talk in front of the mirror. It's kind of like how you perform, how you control your hand expressions, how you control your eyes.
They should be making YouTube videos.
Yeah, how you listen, right? But yeah, making YouTube videos and making content is a great way.
It has helped with my charisma tremendously.
Because you can look back. You can see, you can be like,
yes.
Do I look like that? Oh my God, I wouldn't trust me to do anything, you know? Is what really is coming into play here is the same stuff that comes into play all over the place with everything that we do. And it's insecurity, and fear. And you're insecure about your own level of skills, which is silly. And maybe that kind of puts you higher on the charisma when in reality, you're a lot more competent than you think you are.
And less charismatic.
Now, and then for you, how did I score when you took it as me?
So totally on the competency.
I'm not charismatic.
You're not charismatic. You're not charismatic.
Now, when you were thinking about the people that think of me, you were thinking about the neighbors and stuff.
I was just thinking about,
like our kids'
a few
friends.
interactions we've had with the neighbors.
With people.
And
but then what about when you think about my interactions at an event, like an industry event? Do you think I would be more charismatic or? I have a tendency to sort of shrug. I have some.
Yes, you have a tendency.
I'm shy. I'm a very shy person.
Yeah, very shy. Maybe it's my culture that brings the I'm not charismatic in me because I don't have a lot of patience. Yeah. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like I'm very direct and I just say the things that I sometimes to my own detriment because I may come across as as cold and as a demanding bee.
And there are two different types of ways that you can be considerate. So like one of the questions was how considerate are you of other people? And when I was answering that as you, I think that you're 10 when it comes to being considerate of like everyone in your life, of their needs. And you know what they need because you're that considerate. You know what they need more than they do. And you ensure and go above and beyond to make sure that they always have what they need. But when it comes to their emotions, maybe you're not very considerate about their emotions. I think, and that's something that's interesting when you're maybe that comes from your upbringing or whatever else. So we're all just these emotional, like human beings. We're all just these big emotional amalgams.
I think that we need to work on your charisma.
Probably.
Let us know.
Because what's interesting, when I took the test as myself, I also scored lower than you, but I was right on the line for my own test. So I was right. I was good, and it considered me a charismatic person. It just said that, but I was lower than your star. I was like, wait a minute. Because when we asked our kids, they immediately said, oh, yeah, well, dad's more charismatic.
Yeah.
And then what other things come into charisma? What do you think? Like the silliness come in there? Mm-hmm. Do you trust people? Like, are you going to warm up to somebody who's more silly and playful? Because we try to be playful and silly all the time because we are. Mm-hmm. And in our real life, if you were to have the behind the scenes camera of our house, very loud and obnoxious, these characters, these horrible characters, like, and opera and screaming, and it's insane. But so that's like, for me, I warm up to that silliness and that playfulness. But then at the same time, I have to ask, that's all warmth, right? Because if somebody's being completely silly, that's great. And I would love them if I need my mood to be improved or if I want to be entertained. But I don't want them to sell me anything. And I most certainly don't want them to help me with my professional pursuits. So
I think there's got to be a balance.
There's got to be that balance. And you got to strike that own balance with yourself. And I think this was a really fun thing. And take the
I hope
quiz.
You liked the episode. Let us know. You can find me on Instagram at Pat Sound School.
Yes,
or Twitter. We're also on TikTok.
Yes, we are. And this is a video and an audio podcast. So if you've been watching this podcast on YouTube or Spotify, you can also subscribe on Apple and just listen in your car so that you don't miss an episode. We post episodes every Monday. It's a mandatory Monday listen for you. We always try to include as much research as we can. We curate content from some of the favorite content creators and thinkers of our time to really, with the focus strictly on helping you basically either start your own business if you haven't yet, start your own thing, do something you love, and make serious money doing it. So make better content and more money. That's our mission. And so hopefully we've helped you to do that. If we have, do us a return favor and leave us a comment wherever you're consuming this podcast.
Or a review.
Yeah, or a review.
And share it with a friend.
Yeah, share it with a friend. That would probably even be better.
Yeah.
And tell me what you think I could do to be more charismatic. Okay, well.
I hope you feel happy in our presence. I hope we are bringing joy to your day.
Which one of us would you like to hug more? That's the question. And then which one of us would you like to teach you how to do something more? Right? And is there, that's the question. Right? Yeah. Who do you want to hug?
We'll embrace any results.
Yes, we'll embrace any results because we're looking for personal change and growth as well. Yeah. So we just can't let go. It's like one of those phone conversations.
We love you, Jefe.
You say goodbye.
Jefe up.